is nothing wrong with your radio station. Do not attempt to adjust the tuning. We are now controlling this transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will increase the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We control the bass. We control the treble. We can deluge you with 1,000 channels or expand one single note to crystal clarity and beyond. We can shape what you hear and experience to anything our imagination can conceive. Join us now across the golden veil, raising the vibration of the universe one pulse at a time. For the next hour, sit quietly, and we will control all that you hear. You're about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the deepest inner mind to the airwaves of Cryptic Frequencies, a blog talk radio show dedicated to defining the obscure and exploring the mysterious. I'm your ghost hunting host, Wayne Preston Curtis Thomas. Welcome co-host and producer, Mama Mary Bassett.
Hello, my beautiful souls. I'm Mama Mary, the Soul Diva, producer of the podcast Cryptic Frequencies and the blog talk radio station across the Golden Veil. I'm a store owner in Hastings, Michigan, where I give psychic readings, Reiki, and energy work. I have a great passion for the dark and mysterious, and I am on a quest to find the answers to them. This makes me so excited about our next guest, Marie Cineros. She is interested in the unknown, bizarre, and the mysterious. She is the lead investigative reporter for Paranormal Muskegon Investigator and writer for MUFON Journal. So I'm very excited about this conversation. Marie Cineros, how are you?
Hi, thanks for having me on the show.
Hi, Marie. Well, you're like a triple threat here on the show. I know, just super spooky. You know, the first time that we talked with you, I used the Twilight Zone, and this time it was the Outer Limits intro that I used because you are super spooky. You know, you're interested. You're interested in the unknown, the bizarre, and the mysterious. I say triple threat because astrology, numerology, and ufology.
Yes, yeah. I love the ologies, and the Devil's Night is a wonderful night to be talking about it.
And, you know, Mary is pretty spooky herself, so you guys should get along.
Mysterious. I like their term, maybe mysterious. So
Mary also, I think, is into the astrology, and so I'm thinking maybe that might be a good place to start. As recently, I had breakfast with my good friend Laura Briggs, and she gave me kind of a forecast of what to expect, and she's thinking major changes. So I'm going to save her comments till you guys have a chance to talk about, because I know Mary has definite ideas about what's going to happen. Mary's a psychic astrologist, so why don't you share, Mary? Why don't you start a little bit with what you were telling me of what to expect, what you're expecting?
Well, especially with the blue moon tomorrow and on Halloween, there's going to be a huge shift. We're all moving into the age of Aquarius. And this shift is all about partnerships that we started 6 months ago. So the seeds that we planted with our intents are going to start to manifest. It's all about us walking in alignment with our true spiritual purpose. And the whole world is awakening and beginning the ascension process. And that's a big deal. It's one of the reasons why there's so many riots going on and so much chaos and unrest, because we're raising our vibrations to the fifth dimension. Now, the ones that are already spiritually in tune, that's not a big deal because they're used to that vibration. But there are many who are beginning their awakening who are not used to that vibration. And so it throws them off kilter and it causes anxiety and they tend to lash out. A lot of people are struggling with this. A lot of empaths are struggling with all the energy around them. And many of them don't understand why they're feeling the way that they do. The world as we know it will never be the same.
Yeah, what do you think, Marie, about that?
Oh, yeah, I agree. That more and more people are awakening to their inner consciousness. The unfortunate thing is there's also a pushback against that coming awakening. You know, the forces of change that, continue to want things to stay the same. the status quo, or fighting back against people being that way. So, but yeah, we are headed towards the age of Aquarius. So I think it's inevitable, and unfortunately, some of those things, they're going to fall to the past and they won't come back. But, because we have to just keep an open mind and, keep positive to, that the good things are coming also. So it's hard to stay positive sometimes, when we
it's been
on a
tough
day-to-day
lately.
basis, Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's right on.
Good.
That's what Laura Briggs was telling me when we had breakfast recently. I mean, she says expect major changes, and she talked about it's still, we're getting into the age of Aquarius because we're not exactly sure when this age starts. It's a little ambiguous exactly if we're into it or if we're just starting to get into it, if we've been into it for a while. But Laura says expect major changes in medicine and science. And I'm hoping it's still art. I mean, I think we're in an art renaissance as it is, but I think art is something that's changing every day, and I think we're going to see, some good things come out of this. But another thing that Laura said was UFOs. She goes, it's not going to be a matter of speculation. Like real soon, we're going to have definitive evidence. Oh, Marie, I know. Because you're part of MUFON, so you write for MUFON also. You investigate for MUFON. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, is it like right around the corner?
I think the evidence is there. I think the evidence has been there, but some don't want to take a look at it and they discount it. But photographic evidence and physical evidence and witness evidence. Just it's there, and when it came to what they call a disclosure, which happened, this new disclosure, it happened 2 years ago when they came out with the Tic Tac videos and that, and it put that into a more of a mainstream. The mainstream media started picking those stories up, and so that really kind of brought it into just the mindset of the general public, where it wasn't there before, that it was real. It's real. No one says, exactly what they are. I don't know that we can say that, but they're there. They're real. They're not a figment of anyone's imagination. They actually affect physical reality. So, I mean, to deny that that's something that we have to deal with and find out what it is kind of like hitting us in the face right now.
Yeah, I guess maybe we are in denial, or has there been a cover-up, right? There's been a government cover-up.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of saying that, and maybe that just has to do with, if they're national security. But on the other hand, they always say, well, none of the UFOs that they've ever, investigated, even the ones that they have been unable to explain, were considered to be, a national security threat. So then why the secrecy? Why cover it up? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But just to clarify, I don't write for the MUFON Journal any longer. I did write for the journal for several years. And as of probably just about a week ago, I'm actually not with MUFON any longer because I just haven't picked up I haven't picked up my my membership, and I don't know if I'm going to. Not because there's any problems with it. It's just, I do have my research, Cygnus research to do, and I'm trying to finish up my science fiction book. So I've got so many things on the table right now besides Paranormal Muskegon that, I don't know, I just need to kind of focus on some of the other things. So
I know, you're very busy.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes too busy, I guess. But
you do your research blog?
I'm actually looking for some people that I had put a request for people to write, anyone that was interested in some of the science disciplines that I have on there. I would be, if anyone's interested, they could check out the blog and see if that was something that they'd be interested in, maybe reviewing some new research to put some articles on there, because, that would be great to have some more input from others on there.
Now, your Cygnus research, is that where you get into the Fibonacci sequence?
I'm not sure if I wrote an article specifically on the Fibonacci, but yeah, I'm interested in it, in the correlation of the numbers and nature and the golden mean and that. That's something that I've always been interested in. But
the golden mean that happens, it occurs in nature. That's what you're referring to?
Well, the Fibonacci series, that's when you look at how plants and flowers and that tend to grow, and they grow in spirals, like designs and that. Like even then
seashells
flowers
they had was an example.
Yes, the seashells. That's basically the nautilus shell shows the golden mean just in its spiral. Everything spirals. Right down from atoms all the way up to galaxies. They're
the universe.
In a spiral.
Right.
Yes, the universe. It's all, it's a big spiral. Even people, you're looking at the way atoms are arranged, and the protons and then the nucleus and all of that go around. They vibrate around a center just like galaxies do. So as above, so below.
Mary, I had the advantage of talking to Marie once before. So when she talked Fibonacci to me last time, I'm going, yeah, I think I might have seen that somewhere. But, this is just so far out, this stuff. I know that you're right into the math equation. I know that Maria's she thinks that it's like the universe is like a pulse. It's in a rhythm, or it's a mathematical equation, it seems like. And it's a certain way of thinking about it, where I think maybe Mary approaches even her astrological views are more of a intuition type, maybe like two different views here. Yeah. Marie you have a degree in applied science, so I'm wondering, and then I know that you're into these numbers. We talked about numbers and certain combinations of numbers the last time that we spoke, and they seem to even have like spiritual and religious connotations to them.
Yeah, that's true. The numbers, the odd numbers, they say are spiritual numbers, and the even numbers are material numbers. And that's why in the the Pythagorean number series, it's actually only 10. And if you numbered them, they would be shaped in a pyramid. So, but if you look at them, like the 3 and the 4 make 7, and then you have a combination between the spiritual and the material world.
That's so interesting, because you're the first person that I really ran into that, was a numerologist. I'd never heard that before, even that way of thinking. Although I think we grow up with that, certain like 7 and 11, lucky numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe
especially
certain dates. 2020 that doesn't seem to be a lucky number.
Yes. Well, yeah, and the 2020 actually figures in with the Mayans, with the calendar, and their numbers, their system was based on 20. So 20 was actually pretty symbolic, to them. And actually the date for, they said it was supposed to be 12/21 in the year 2012, that the end of the world, quote unquote, wasn't actually the right date. Their Mayan calendar was August 11th, 2014. And to them, it wasn't the end of the world. It's just like any calendar, and it's a cyclical belief system. It's not, it's not linear. The time isn't linear. It's like it just cycles. It's just a new cycle that's starting over. But theirs started in, I think, 3114 BC. So I don't know where that date came up with. I don't know why their belief system started then.
We need our buddy Brandon Jose on the show, because he's into that, all about the time linear, and yeah, because we're all the time as ghost hunters, we're trying to see through that veil. You know, we want to see into that other side. I know that when you did your MUFON research, it wasn't just UFOs.
Well, no, we've had a chance to, investigate a few, other things and that, entities type thing. Not a lot, not, actually the cases that I've personally investigated, for Michigan.
But they prepare you for that, right?
Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely. You're taught how to deal with all of the, a lot of different aspects of the paranormal reports, But as a matter of fact, I did find a couple of really interesting cases, historical cases, and I thought they might be kind of cool to talk about on this Devil's Day right before Halloween.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
So these aren't cases that I have done, obviously, because I think they were from CUFOS, which was a group that they used to do the UFO cases. But I liked it because it had a lot of aspects of the combined mythology, the folklore, and the paranormal. And this happened in 1965 in Kent, Washington. And there was 3 girls between the ages of 13 and 16, and they were dropped off at a bean field to harvest the crop by a father of 2 of the girls. So as he drove away, he noticed that there were 2 unusual individuals walking along the side of the road of the bean field. So as the girls walked along the same road after he dropped them off, they also saw him. But and they thought that they were dressed in Halloween costumes. But as they got closer, they realized that they weren't even people. So the first entity looked like an elf or like a gnome, and he was small and gray, and he was wearing a gray shirt and a pants and a strange hat. And some reports say that they were both wearing tunics. But he was dancing and jumping in front of the other one, and as they got closer, of course, they got more frightened. So this entity was making a cackling noise that they thought sounded like laughter. So the other being that was walking behind him was about 5 feet tall and had an unusual head. And his face was either gray or very tanned, and he had some kind of a bulbous extension on the back of his head with pulsating veins that showed through. And there was large pores in the cranium and this side of the head, and it looked like it was white. So he wore some type of a suit that was shiny, like it was satin, and the top was purple in large pockets. But he had his hands in his pockets so they didn't see what they looked like, but his eyes were like a frog's. And he had a pipe in his mouth, and he was blowing and making a sound. So, they thought that they were, like I said, in Halloween costumes, but of course when they got closer, they had no idea, and so they got scared and took off into the bean field.
That's
so
the
craziest. I just thought it was an interesting. It is. It's a crazy, crazy case. And I saw the photographs of it, and it reminded me of something. It reminded me of the cases or the story of the trickster, which is actually Mercury. The god Mercury, known as the trickster. So I thought it kind of reminds me of like a human archetype, of that motif, in cultures of the trickster. So I just thought it was pretty interesting, especially given Halloween.
That was some, really detailed descriptions. Now, where did this happen?
It said Kent, Washington in 1965.
Wow, so not so long ago.
No, not really. And I know that they investigated, and they said that they were taken by the fact that the father also saw the 2 figures on the side of the road. So, it kind of gave some credibility to the fact that they did see something. But, it's like, what? And that wonders, like, is this, did they step in from a different dimension or a parallel universe, that's only seen from our perspective? Because now that we're giving the research into quantum physics and astronomy, it's maybe it's possible that for some reason that they just happen to step into our universe.
Yeah, I'm buying into this parallel universe theories more and more. I mean, with Mothman, they're kind of like they're there and then they're not, and then a lot of times when there's UFOs, there's Bigfoot sightings. It seems to be connected. They're all connected somehow, and whether they're stepping through some kind of a portal.
Yeah.
Cause I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's not fossilized records for a lot of these things that they're reporting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, where'd they come from? Where'd they disappear to? I wondered sometimes whether some of this stuff that we're digging into the earth so far, who's to say, we don't come across, we open up something that's been sleeping dormant. We have creatures nowadays that can go dormant, for long periods of time, and then all of a sudden, like, they're back to life again. It's hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with the Hadron Collider that they've been working with, the boson particle and quantum physics, and trying to open up, create black holes in the laboratory up there in Switzerland, Sweden. So it's like you wonder if they're actually working with trying to open portals into different universes to find out whether they're alternate universes.
Yeah,
like,
or
I don't
to
know
travel.
If it's a good thing or not. Yeah,
I mean, the only way we're going to be able to travel through space is through some kind of wormhole or something, because we won't live long enough to get from one place to another.
Right. Correct.
Have you ran into many hoaxes doing your research?
Oh, yeah, probably about 25%, I think, maybe, are hoaxes. And usually they're photographic hoaxes is what most of that I've come across.
Yeah, I tried to send you a picture of my relative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't, for some reason you couldn't open it up, but it was like a circle of lights look up in the sky, but really it was a reflection off of his window when he took a picture out the window. So, I know, because you were looking for that kind of thing, for examples of what might look like UFOs, but really has nothing to do with it, UFOs. Yeah, you couldn't open it up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I tried it 2 or 3 times to do that, but
yeah,
I know another one that they.
Okay, another story. Yeah, these are great.
Yeah, another one that someone had sent me was it was supposedly taken with one of the the cameras on your doorbell. And it was a video, and it was supposedly, a UFO landing on their front lawn. And but it was really kind of funny. Like, that's not it, but you have to tell them, like, okay, what I can see in the strange, it was a reflection of someone else's, the house across the street. There was a reflection of the light on his camera. So it's like, well, number one, that's not the camera on your doorbell. It's your camera you're holding, because I can see the light. So, see, I have a pretty good BS meter with that, and I have a logical mind, and believe it or not, some people would not believe that, but I also have a very skeptical mind about things. So, you always have to look at the logical explanation for things first.
It's the same thing in ghost hunting, and when you take a picture, you got to watch out for reflective surfaces. I just saw something on Facebook that Rick Wade posted, because they were out there at the Allegan County Museum, the old Allegan Jail, and they took a picture. I did see that, yeah. You saw that, and he thought that there was an apparition of a little girl. Now, the first thing I thought was that puppet, that doll that was there, it was a reflection off that doll. He right away said it's not a reflection off that doll, but that's exactly where I went to. You saw that picture, Marie?
Thinking too. Yes, I did. Yeah. The only thing I could say was the reflection. It looked like it had more like the hair was in a short bob, which if you look at the dolls and that are in the case, didn't seem to fit.
Right.
That.
Yeah, it looked like it had
shadow.
hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did look at that, and that's exactly what I thought too. But then I'm like, well, it does look different than what the dolls look like in the photograph. So.
You'd have to see if you could recreate that.
Interesting.
Now, I was up in Paddock Place doing an investigation. I hung my jacket with a hood. It has a hood on it. I hung it on a chair. And during the night, during picture taking, my partner, our leader, took a picture of my jacket. And then when he looked at it later, he brought it to me. He goes, "Look, there's this little girl standing there." And I looked at it, and it did look like it. And it looked like she had hair. And then it finally dawned on me. I said, "Hey, that's my jacket hanging on that chair." So,
that's
I mean,
cool.
yeah, you got to be debunking this stuff and be.
Oh yeah.
You can't just take it all in.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, to me, it's not a case of like being a believer. It's finding the evidence, finding, what could be true and what, not. And so, but, I also believe there are things, there's more things in heaven on earth than are thought of in our philosophy.
All right, yeah.
Kind of a paraphrasing Shakespeare there.
Yeah, we're little specks of dust when it comes to the universe. Not even a speck of dust.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, we were talking about hoaxes a little bit here. Now, crop circles, I think, we talked about it a little bit. I think some of these are legit. What do you think?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that there are. I used to have an article that I saved about one of the earliest crop circles that was formed, and it was called the Devil Circle, because it was, I think, from the early 1700s, where it was that's what they were saying, that the devil was dancing around in a circle in the middle of the night while they were all sleeping. I'm sure you could probably find it online, because it was out of just an old, I don't know, it was a newspaper article or what, from the early 1700s. So that wasn't those guys there with their little planks,
Right.
claimed to be making all of those in England. So
right.
Yeah, some of them are so intricate, and you don't see any way that they got onto the field or off the field without, disturbing the, whatever agreement was that they were at. I've never did a lot of, crop circle investigations, but I think they're fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm sure not all of them are man-made.
Where do you think the most credible evidence is coming from? What part of the world? Most reports coming from, or?
For crop circles?
No, just UFO sightings and that. Where's the most compelling things coming from lately?
Gosh, I don't know. I really don't know. I think that you have to take, all of the evidence together to maybe get a really good picture of the fact that.
Yeah, that's a project for your Cygnus.
Yeah.
That's a Cygnus research project.
Well, yeah, I try.
I'm gonna see Bill Konkoleski in 2 weeks. I'll ask him that question.
Oh, okay.
That question there. See if he has an answer for that. Because I know he does like UFOs over Michigan, and then he does a worldwide thing too, a show.
Mm-hmm.
Now you did cite some examples that happened here in Michigan, and you were pretty excited about one of them. One of the UFO sightings in Michigan.
Is that the one from they call them flats. Basically,
I know.
When you talk about certain areas, there's certain times in certain years that they have more than, these flaps happen, and I guess that was the one that we were talking about in Michigan. Yeah, flap.
You use
flap? They had them in Brazil.
I had never heard that.
Yeah. And that was the one in Michigan that I believe that I had talked with you about.
It was.
Mike Walsh.
Yep.
We had Mike Walsh on the show, and he gave us an interview about that one. And it was quite compelling, to hear the amount of people that would witness that, and I mean, including police officers, and the fact that it was, tracked on radar at the same time that there was being witnesses are calling in. It's being tracked on radar, and even like police officers are reporting it too. So those are, you get those three things all together at the same time, gives you a better picture that, yeah, there's really something going on here. This isn't someone seeing Venus. This isn't someone seeing car lights or hallucinating. It's really happening. Over 60 people reported it to the police that night over, 4 counties, all the way from Holland to Muskegon. And that was when they were tracked it on radar at the National Weather Service here in Muskegon.
I remember.
And I think,
I'm old enough to have been around when it happened. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
It was like they're calling out the National Guards and stuff. It was like happening right then. Who was this that you interviewed, Mike?
It's Mike Walsh. He's a lawyer here in Muskegon, but at the time he wrote for the Muskegon Chronicle, and I think he used to. He wrote for a newspaper in Chicago before that, but he had obtained the tape from the National Weather Service of the radar guy talking about it, and because there was an investigation by MUFON. I know there's been a lot of controversy on how it was handled, but I don't really know that much about it. But in listening to the radar transcript, or just even reading the transcript, but listening to it is just, it'll give you chills, because
I know
the fright in the man's voice when he talks about seeing these on the radar screen. He says normal planes, he said, when you see them, are tiny. He says these are like massive blobs. And he said, and they weren't artifacts. He was pretty well seasoned, radar guy. So he knew that he wasn't looking at anything that he'd ever seen before. So he was actually sounded pretty scared about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And these are reputable people. The police are chasing these things, and Bill Konkoleski says that it's statistically inevitable that there is life out there, because there's 100 sextillion habitable locations. And I sent you another thing that was a math that had to do with a couple guys that worked out a mathing on how many possibilities are out there. They got a new system of math that they're looking at. I thought maybe you had been into that because you were into numbers, and then also into MUFON, or at least you were.
Yeah. I did look at that, but a little bit. I guess I'm not a mathematician. I think that level of math is probably, beyond my scope, especially when it comes to astronomy.
Right.
I can interpolate. Because I am an astrologer, I used to do the charts by hand, so I can interpolate planetary motion, but in that level of math and more like mystical math. But I know that it was kind of an extension or going beyond what the Drake's equation talks about, the amount of inhabitable planets and galaxies there are. But
right, apparently this Drake's equation they've left in the dust, that they've got a whole new kind of math that's going to explain it for us. And maybe that's just the start of what Laura Briggs was talking about. There's going to be evidence that nobody can deny, not just statistical inevitability, but actual stuff that everybody can see, not just a handful of people. And it's going to happen, according to Laura. I think it is. I think it's eminent. If they're not here, they're going to be.
Yeah.
But you and I, you think they're here. I asked you about extraterrestrial sex when we were on the TV show. I know. Well, I thought I was going to throw you off a little bit with that, but you just took it right in stride. You said what your answer was. You think that maybe they're some hybrids in the lab or something. Bud Hopkins was wrote about that, the women that had stated, and they seemed to be credible and had
hypnotic regression, saying that they had actually been, had given birth, and these, children were taken, someplace else. So, there's that. And I mean, there's stories of mythology from years and years ago, of the fairies. They would come and either take the babies, the human children, and leave the changelings, these little weak, sickly babies. They were elf babies. So, and those stories have been around for a long time. So,
I read some accounts from some of these women that have claimed to have extraterrestrial sex. It's the best sex ever. So, and then I've been asking my wife whether this, we took vows, whether extraterrestrial sex falls into those vows that I took or not.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this now.
Right. I don't know. So
yeah,
it could be okay. I'm not sure. I am a married man, so the wife's giving me the X on that.
Yeah, I'll bet she is. I don't blame her. So I think that the stories of we said the extraterrestrial sex might fall into the realm of what you call the incubus and succubus.
Have you
heard of those spirits?
We're familiar with that.
Yeah,
I just had a case. I just had a case with one of those. Now you do the writing. Yeah. You do the writing for Muskegon Paranormal, and you did an article on our good friend Darren Dykehouse and and Jamie Ray Wonders, and Darren Dykehouse from Lakeshore Paranormal. And you've been following him on Facebook. I see that because Darren's on there a lot. I don't know. I mean, he needs a girlfriend.
Yeah, well, there's those extraterrestrials out there. We'll have to, maybe.
I know it's the best sex ever.
We'll have to suggest that. Well, there's always.
I am going to now. Right, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Marie Cineros says, we can hook you up with extraterrestrial.
Oh, yeah.
But what a detailed article you did on those guys. And you talked about all the clairvoyance and all the different clairs, the clair seeing, clair hearing, all those. And such detail that I was so impressed. And then that's what attracted me to get a hold of you to begin with. You also did
I do pretty good research.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I'm wondering, does you carry a microphone around with you everywhere you go?
No, but that's an idea.
Or a tape recorder? I wonder if you're taping things. No? You were on our TV show, and you also did an article on that I read. Another one, very detailed. I don't think you left anything out about the things that we talked about. We did talk about Lake Michigan Triangle, and you have some interesting things on that in Stonehenge.
Oh, yeah. I'd actually like to, learn some more about that too. And I think I did write something about that for my blog. I think that's where I got, interested in it when I found out that there was such a thing called the Michigan Triangle. Most people have heard of the Bermuda Triangle, but and this goes from Manitowoc, Wisconsin, across to Ludington and down to Benton Harbor. So I mean that's
pretty much all of Lake Michigan.
Yeah, pretty much.
It doesn't leave much out.
And I know that Muskegon's had their share of ships that have went down, and I know I talked about that with Satan Noir when I interviewed her, at the Hackley Museum here. It was a couple weeks ago. So we had a good talk about that.
Oh, yeah. I talked to her Wednesday. She was on our TV show. We did a special Halloween. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's great.
I saw that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. Yeah, you talked about the Charles Hackley schooner going down in Lake Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah, the Christmas tree ship. Yeah, I thought that was, pretty interesting. But I don't think we really got into too much about that it was a ghost ship, because I know that they had said that they've had sightings of it, occasionally, and they say that those when you do see the ghost ships, that's a warning for them to get off the lake.
Oh.
So I guess
I didn't know that.
Maritime history. So.
Oh yeah, I did not know that. And then they say that time speeds up and slows down, and there's actually been more like shipwrecks and plane crashes in the Lake Michigan Triangle than there ever has been in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes.
Yeah, and more ships have gone down in the Great Lakes than they have all the other bodies of water put together.
Yes, I agree. I think it's something in the range of 6,000 to 8,000.
Right.
In all of the Great Lakes. And I don't know how many planes that have went down.
Because we haven't really talked Stonehenge yet, and I know that you're interested in it. Right.
I'm not sure where that is at. I know that it's, I think it might be up by Petoskey, from the area. They really don't say right now where it's at, but they're calling it Michigan Stonehenge. So they were discovered in 2007. They really haven't investigated that much, and I think it's because they have to find, divers that would, go down there. But the most interesting thing was that, so I think that they, on one of the stone structures, it looks like that it was, it's formed in a circle, but in one of the center stones, it looks like there's a mastodon that has been carved into the stone.
Right.
So I mean, and that region goes back to 12,000 years ago. So yeah,
right.
I really haven't found out a lot of information about that, but yeah, it's certainly intriguing.
Well, because talking with Shatan, I know that she talks about the Petoskey stone as evidence that at one time Michigan was down by the equator, because Petoskey stone is actually fossilized coral, and so things like the mastodon. I've heard theories of what the Stonehenge might have been for, whether they used it to corral animals, for a hunt, or I think we know that this kind of a structure has been religious use. So that Stonehenge, I know you know where it's at. It's in Grand Traverse Bay, and you don't want anybody to know that because they're going to be there looking for it.
Yeah.
You want to keep that evidence quiet. No, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be protected, I'm sure. And all these things should be. I mean, Bigfoot should be protected. You shouldn't be out just shooting aliens if you see them. I mean, there should be some kind of a law that says, you can't shoot aliens, you can't shoot Bigfoot. At least got to let them kill you first, I guess. I don't know. Bigfoot, I'm not going to stick around if Bigfoot's around myself. Or I don't know, alien, I may try to, because there's that sexual thing with the alien. If I make friends, who knows what might happen. So we covered, I think, the Lake Michigan Triangle rather well. We could go into final thought a little bit early, but we want to do any shout-outs? Anybody out there? I'm wondering what was your driving force? Was there people that pushed you in this direction, this spooky direction that you went?
I don't know if there's any a particular person that would have, pushed me particularly. Just maybe my curiosity, starting at a really young age of anything strange and mysterious, or secret, and I think I was probably 13, started reading books on things like witchcraft and, strange things seen in the sky. And I think maybe I'd mentioned that before, that one of my early books by Jacques Vallée, who has been a big driving force, in ufology. And it was called Passport to Magonia, that would give stories of, just UFOs and beings, sighted by people. So, I mean, that's probably one of the two. Another one would be, I can't think of his name right now, but he was a ghost hunter. Not Bud Hopkins, but But yeah, I would read stories like that. Of course, they would always scare me, but I was just fascinated by that. And then I've had a few experiences of my own, just starting when I was like 10, of seeing, UFOs and having a few strange occurrences, happen when I was younger that really were unexplainable.
Yeah, you said you may have had an out-of-body experience after an automobile accident. Is that right?
Yeah, I was very young, and it was like I was I hit my head, and it was kind of like I was looking at myself, from like outside the car, looking down at myself, and then a few minutes later I was back, in my body. But that was was probably one of them. I think another interesting one that I'd never really talked about to like a family member until recently was we used to, when I was like 10, we used to play cards all the time. And I remember one night we were sitting there playing cards, and I was facing the window and a door. And I remember seeing something like a flash of light come through the door. It's just one of those things, like you see it and you don't really talk about it. You don't know what it is, but, it's like, what would that be? Why would a flash of light come through a door?
Yeah.
And then I read, as I got older and got into ufology, I'd read other instances where just because an entity, when they come in, to the houses or whatever, because they're so fast, based on our timeline, that you wouldn't really see them. You would only see maybe flashes. So, that's possible. I don't really know,
Right.
Like I said, I was probably 10 years old. So I just know that it was something, strange that occurred, and I had mentioned it to my sister here several years ago, and she goes, oh, yeah, she says, I remember that. So at least I wasn't the only one that saw it. We just didn't talk about it.
Yeah, people a lot of times don't report stuff like that,
Yeah.
and they're afraid they're going to be ridiculed, called crazy. I think I had an out-of-body experience when I wrecked my motorcycle, and it was myself. I had a guy in the back, and we both fell asleep coming home from a concert in Muskegon, actually. And I remember I thought I was conscious, but my eyes weren't open, and it seemed like they were putting me back together, and they were in a hurry.
Oh,
they're going they're like, hurry up, someone's coming. And sure enough, I heard someone was there and asking my buddy, are you all right? And he's going, yeah, I'm all right. And I yelled out, well, I don't know about me, because my eyes weren't even open, and I could feel heat, real bad heat on my hand, because I was burning the heck out of my hand on the motorcycle pipe. And the bike he goes, don't move, the bike's on top of you. He gets the bike off me. I look around, there's nobody there. I don't know who he was talking to, if they left that quickly. But yeah, it was like an out-of-body experience. It was kind of weird. Yeah, and I had really, talking about people that influenced you, Van Daniken, the book by him, about aliens or whatever, was an early one. There weren't a lot of them, when I was growing up. There wasn't a lot of literature around like there is nowadays. I was glad to hear that you're doing a book. That sounds exciting.
Well, it's almost done. I got the second draft. Well, I've got the draft finished, and I think I'm done with editing, so I'm actually going to start looking for a publisher for it. It's called Sequence 17, and it's just a story basically that came to me. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I just felt compelled to write the story. And of course, when it comes to writing, sometimes things kind of take a turn of their own. But so I'm going to look for a publisher for that pretty soon.
Is it fictional?
Yes, it is fictional.
Okay.
But the thing is,
science
when it comes to writing,
it is a science fiction.
It is science
story,
fiction.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Nice. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. That would be cool.
Well,
How about
I have to
upcoming
really
stuff?
finish it.
You got anything in the works upcoming besides the book? That's definitely upcoming.
Well, we don't have anything scheduled now for Paranormal Muskegon, but we're always on the lookout for stories of the paranormal, especially in this area. So if anybody your listeners has a story that they could share, that they would be willing to, do an interview, we're always looking for that.
Yeah, where do they send that? How do they get a hold of you?
They could get a hold of me. It's mariehelena777@gmail.com.
A whole different name.
Yeah, a whole different name. Yeah, or they could probably contact it's the MuskegonChannel.com. So, and that's Andy O'Reilly is the producer of that.
Which is full circle because I told you Andy O'Reilly interviewed me for a Halloween way back when he was with one of the radio stations in Grand Rapids, WKLQ or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was with KLQ for a long time. Yeah, I'll have to mention that to him. I forgot to mention that to him.
Yeah, and they give me tickets to a concert too for just showing up and talking a little bit on their show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was cool. Now, Mary, you have upcoming.
Yes, I do. I am super excited to announce that I'm expanding the shop that I have in Hastings. We're actually moving into a larger location, into my own building at 325 East Green Street. So everybody be sure to come on out Saturday and stop in and visit. We're going to be doing our grand opening on that day. I'll be doing channeled readings and energy work. We have a lot of unique gift ideas, especially with Christmas coming up for that person who has maybe different taste or likes more unique items for that wow factor on Christmas. But be sure to stop in. I'll still be doing my readings and energy work, but we'll also have new products on the shelf. So super excited and looking forward to the new beginnings. And again, that'll be this Saturday, November 14th, and I hope to see you guys all there.
Yeah, so I hope to make it out there for that. If people can get a reading and get into part of your insights. Yeah. And then Paddock Place is doing some stuff for Halloween over the weekend. Brandon Jose, his team is out there. They're doing some evidence EVPs, and we're going to reveal some of the stuff that they found when they did an investigation out there. And then Esther Joy, that we've had on tarot cards, she's going to be doing some tarot reading. Marie did some tarot readings. She says she's not lately. She hasn't done any lately. She's getting out of that, I guess. But yeah, so go out there for. You're too busy with everything else.
Yeah, I guess sometimes you have to find your niche. I never felt that tarot was really my niche. I think that's why I felt more comfortable with the astrology and the numerology than the tarot. Maybe it's just because it seems more. I mean, I like the symbolism, but it's just, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. And I still do it once in a while, like.
It's interesting, yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's interesting.
I even like just watching other people get read. It's interesting to me, right? Now, we're bringing Amber Rose Hammond on the show next, so maybe even as close as next week, maybe. Now, she's an author, paranormal author, speaker. She's been in this area. There's a certain cemetery, Unica Cemetery, that she focused on when she was investigating. She presented the spookiest thing I've ever seen when I went to one of her book signings, and it was a door that closed behind people, and it was just it was not a hoax. Yeah, it was the real thing. So, and then we're going to follow her with Laura Briggs, and then Laura is a lot like you because she's into astronomy, and also she's more like Mary though because she's kind of like a psychic astronomer because she's got special gifts that she was born with. So that's our upcoming, and then I of course do WKTV podcast, and our new thing is we're on TV now. We're on Comcast Channel 25 and UVerse 99 Monday nights at 11 p.m. So you can watch us on TV if you want.
Yeah. Great stuff.
So on the big screen, it's a whole different experience, really, on the big screen. So I'm excited about that. But this show has been going rather nicely, I think, all along. Mama Mary Bassett was such an influence to me back when, like, the whole world was crumbling around everybody. Yeah. So I have a final thought, and then it's based on the number 4. For the Chinese, the number 4 is unlucky because in Mandarin it rhymes with death. So they don't use the number 4 in hospitals. Mm-hmm. They don't use it for, like, 4th floors and buildings, like we sometimes don't use the 13th floor here. They don't use it for their house number or the license number or phone number. Mm-hmm. It's considered a bad omen. So the final thought is, do you think there is such a thing as bad omens? You know, black cats, don't walk under a ladder, spill salt, that's bad. Do you believe in bad omens? Marie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's about belief. You know, if you believe that walking under a ladder is, you know, going to be bad luck, you know, that, you know, something might happen when you you might trip and fall when you come under. It's the belief in that. So, you know.
Oh, you're putting the power behind that stuff.
Well, yeah, I think there is power in it in a certain way, but it's that word, if you believe that to be true, whatever it is you believe is going to tend to manifest in your life if you constantly focus on that. My clock is ringing here. But as it comes to, you know, tonight and Halloween, you know, I mean, that's a time when, you know, witches hold their Sabbath and, you know, the ghosts roam. So a lot of those superstitions surrounding Halloween, you know, involve divining the future. So maybe we think about those type of things more at this time of the year.
Right, we sure do.
Ever.
So that's why it's a good final thought. Had you heard of the number 4 being unlucky for the Chinese?
No. 4s and 8s, they're in numerology, they're called karmic numbers. They're material numbers. So if your number is a 4 or an 8, you have to be careful with the times that you do things. Like, you wouldn't want to do things on the 13th, which, by the way, of course, that's one reason why they don't use 4s like we don't use 13s. 1 and 3 makes 4, so they, you know, that turns to the, you know, the unlucky number. But, you know, I mean, just like symbolism and numerology, that's.
You know, I grew up in our household. Superstitions were abound. I mean, if you dropped a spoon or a fork or something, it's my mom's like, "Oh, we're having company," and it would depend on whether it was a spoon or a fork, what kind of company you were going to have. So, and I don't know where the basis are that came from all this, but it seems to be all around the world. I mean, superstitions have been with us. I don't know if it's part of our human nature or what exactly. That's it. You know, the show's pretty much done. I like to leave us with something inspirational, and because I have 2 powerful women on the line, I chose Susan B. Anthony, for my quote, and I think this applies to you girls. We'll see. I'll read it, and then you tell me whether it applies to you. Forget conventionalism. Forget what the world thinks of you stepping out of your place. Think your best thoughts. Speak your best words. Work your best works. Looking to your own conscience for approval. So, Susan B. Anthony. Does that define you girls?
Ah, yes, love it. Speak your truth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are blazing your own paths. You have all along, in regardless of what other people think. Now, Ricky Nelson, I don't know. You got to be as old as me to even know who Ricky Nelson is, but
I know who Ricky Nelson is.
Okay, in the lyrics, in the lyrics, Garden Party said, "You can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself." So that's where I'm at. Thanks so much, Mama Mary Bassett. Always a pleasure. Marie Cineros.
Always.
Thanks so much.